welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dion, and this is episode 42. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your continued support. For today's guest, I have John Merchant. Together with his songwriting partner, Todd Long, they formed the group Ghosts of Sunset. I discovered Ghosts of Sunset, I guess, by accident. I get sent music all the time, and some things I have the time to click on, other things I don't have the time to click on. I decided to click on this one, and I was instantly hooked. I would call it hair metal, but a more modern version of it, and more depth and character in the songwriting. I think John explains it a little better than I can. But rather than give you the history on Ghosts of Sunset, I'm going to let John do it. Our interview got pretty in-depth, and I think you're going to find out everything you need to know about Ghosts of Sunset. And here's John Merchant. Well, I ask everybody the same question in the beginning. If I knew absolutely nothing about Ghosts of Sunset, how would you describe the band's music to me?
You know, lately I've been saying melodic hard rock with kind of an emphasis on character and story development, to be honest with you. You know, its basis, I think, is in classic rock and roll, some 80s hair metal, of course, but we do try to focus on taking the listener somewhere within those songs. As much as I love, Talk Dirty to Me and Girls, Girls, Girls and stuff like that too, we're also trying to maybe tell some deeper stories than just that.
Yeah, and definitely on your latest album, No Saints in the City, you say the song's got to go somewhere. You get a bunch of little stories, not necessarily connected, but little stories about different people's experiences in New York City. So I guess my first question is, why particularly New York City?
I've been fascinated. I live in a pretty small town. I grew up in a fairly small town. I've been fascinated with kind of late 70s, early 80s New York City since I was a kid. My dad was an over-the-road truck driver, and he took me to New York City as a kid, and I can remember it was my first experience. We got there fairly early, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I remember looking out the window and, there were people sleeping on the sewer grates because there was warm steam and, people were eating out of the garbage. I'd just never seen anything like that. And then, because there's some grit to that, right? That era in New York City, there was almost a toughness you had to survive those streets then. And I was fascinated and still am fascinated by that.
And if you don't cross the street, the split second that the light turns green, they're going to honk and run you over.
Right. Exactly. There's that too. It's just a different experience, and it's rich. I found writing lyrics and such. I really learned it on the EP, on our concept EP, Headed West. I learned that if I could place these people somewhere, it was easier to start telling their stories, give them kind of a rough either storyline or geographic location. And if I were being honest with you, that's all kind of a ripoff of what Bruce Springsteen did on Born to Run. It's that. I hope nobody calls me on that, but it was years into my fandom of Springsteen when I finally realized that the songs on Born to Run, which is one of my favorite albums, that all took place in one night. So that's pretty cool. I started to like that idea.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the story from the song No Saints in the City, which you've released as a single.
Again, No Saints in the City, it's almost like when I was a kid, and we did it with Headed West too, a lot of people were leaving these small towns and going to quote unquote make it somewhere big. You almost have to be in that market, in order to break through. In the 80s, for rock and roll, it was the Sunset Strip. Where a band like Poison came from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, I think, went out to LA. And the No Saints in the City is almost the same thing as saying, there's no safety net here. You get there, you're going to do it. You're making that commitment. You better give it everything you've got. And so that was the idea of No Saints in the City, that, you can go there. There is that notion, there's a line in that song, and kind of a repeating line, they fooled you once. It's the idea that, you might go there with one set of ideas and notions about it, but the city itself is going to prove pretty quickly that your notions may have been wrong, and you're on your own.
You've also released If You're Not Coming Back as a single, if you want to kind of go into the story behind that one.
That's how it started out. I had lost my mother. I was raised by a single mother, real close to her. I had lost her about 3 years ago. And there was that concept in my mind of she's not coming back. And no matter, what your belief system is, you can, you're always connected. And I feel like I am. But the fact that I just didn't have that immediate access to her anymore. That was the first idea. And then in my other life, I deal with recovery base. I work with alcoholics and drug addicts because I am one. And so I kind of blended those two ideas together to create that song.
Do you have a third single planned from the album?
We did. We've got a song called Queen of Used to Be on that features our buddy Denny Smith from an amazing band called The Great Affairs. If you haven't checked them out, please do so. Great Nashville band. He played the guitar solo on that song. And that's about kind of an aged starlet, in the city when you're on the downside slope of that fame. And believe it or not, that was inspired. I was watching the show Schitt's Creek on TV over the lockdown. Maura, the character there, kind of the same deal. She's doing a local ad for whatever it was. She's like acting in a local ad for a winery or something. And she's talking all this big time Hollywood stuff. And it's like, well, those days are gone. You're doing an ad for a local gas station. Maybe you want to take it down a couple notches, You
got a lot of special guests, not just the gentleman from The Great Affairs. You get a lot of kind of guys in the genre, from Enough's Enough to Bang Tango. And Gene Loves Jezebel is kind of outside the genre, but still cool music. How did you are these your friends, or are these the people you reached out to because they were in the genre?
I think we reached out to them. We kind of let the songs dictate, who would be a great fit, or what we were hearing. And then, like you said, Gene Loves Jezebel, things like that. We really wanted to open that up a little bit and give the songs a little bit more of what maybe they needed. So the songs really dictated it. And we've been real lucky through Golden Robot Records, I think, and through some of the limited success we had with our EP, we got enough attention to start reaching out to people. And we always approach them the same way. If you like the song, we'd love to have you on it. If you don't, no hard feelings, but why would you waste your time? So the people we chose were really picked because we knew they'd bring something to the song. That being said, and no offense to anyone, but we also don't have I can't email Jimmy Page right now and see if he's interested. There's certain people who are a little prohibitive. We were lucky. We got some great players who really they really put themselves into the songs, and those solos move the songs along and continue to tell that story that's so important to us as writers. So we're really lucky that we got to work with these people. And a lot of them, I was watching Bang Tango on Headbangers Ball, when I was just out of high school. And Enough's Enough is one of the most underrated bands that has ever existed. It's been a real honor to work with them and have them bring some of their soul to, because anyone can knock out a guitar solo, a whittly guitar solo, and move on. These folks really, they gave of themselves to it, and it made the songs better.
Do you think that being able to get their services would have been possible if, live shows weren't, locked down for 2 years?
I think it would have been a lot more difficult. We got really lucky, and sorry to speak about a global pandemic and talk about my good fortune, right? That's terrible. But what I mean by that is we had people who were available. They, like you said, they were home, they were off the road. The touring schedules are so different anymore. A lot of the people that we work with and who are in our genre are nowadays doing a little more quote unquote weekend warrior stuff. They're going out, they're doing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're back home, they're flying home. So we were able to catch them. But yeah, that being home helped us out, I think.
The album was originally released digitally through streaming formats, and now it's available on CD. Was this something you were waiting to see the response first?
Yeah, everything, it's hard to admit, right? But if you had to pick one obstacle in this business, it isn't talent. There's a lot of talent out there. It isn't looks. There's some great looking people out there too, but really it's all financial. your big blockades are always financial. And it's terrible. It stands in the way of probably some great art we'll never be exposed to because someone couldn't afford to share it with us. So we do have to make pretty cost-effective decisions. When Headed West came out, we got a lot of, you guys need to press vinyl. I want it on vinyl. I went, well, you know what? I'd like it on vinyl too, but I'd also, like to know where you're finding that money. But getting the physical CDs is important. It's for some folks, that's how they listen. For other people, to be honest with you, that gives the project some validity. Like you have this physical thing, and now it's more valid than you're just on streaming platforms. As silly as that sounds, it is true. So it gave us a little of that too, when you can hold that. We grew up making music before there. We were making cassettes. Before CDs. There is something about the physical product. I will say it would be nice to put more money into that sort of thing, to really do it right. But again, it's all, we have to put the bulk of whatever money we get from this, we put into the music itself and making that its best.
How did you guys sign to Golden Robot Records?
When we started writing I had the idea for the concept EP. I shared it with my partner, Todd, and we started writing. The first song we recorded was a song called Miles in Between, which was our first single on Golden Robot. Featured Johnny Monaco from Enough's Enough and LA Guns on guitar. We got that song done, and it was like, man, I think this is, because we're music fans, right? We're music fans first, so I like to think I can recognize a good song. And even if I can, take myself and my ego out of it, I can go, I think there's something there. And Miles in Between was like that. And then you start going, well, it'd be nice to share it with our friends. And then you start going, I think other people would like this. So then we started the idea of maybe finding someone to help us just get it out there a little bit. And we did reached out, we got some bites, met with a couple different people. But Golden Robot was the one that really seemed artist driven. They seemed to get what we were doing. And I think they respected our 30 years in this game, which is the sweat equity my partner Todd and I have in this game. It can't be understated. We've seen a lot of this. We've been out there doing it for writing, recording, touring for 30 plus years. Golden Robot, I remember one of the first things Mark said to us was, it's nice to talk to some people with some realistic views and some realistic aspirations. My partner Todd and I, we know Ghosts of Sunset are not moving to Taylor Swift levels anytime soon. But what we're trying to do is connect with an audience, share these songs, and maybe keep climbing up the next few rungs, because I think the songs are strong enough. And I think the people we've connected with are important enough to keep giving them the best material we can. And Golden Robot helps us get it to them,
Absolutely. Any artist I've talked to that's on the label speaks highly of them.
Yeah, they've been good to us.
Speaking of taking it to the next level, are you going to try to take this project out on the road, or is this going to have to stay a studio project?
That is really the million-dollar question right now. I can tell you that it's for guys like us who came up in the business the way we did. Live is where you always proved your muster, right? We all had those bands we went and saw and loved, and we went, wow, they're great on albums. They can't convey it live. Or we went and saw them and they crushed it live, and we went, oh my God, those guys can deliver this thing. So we're talking about it. We're looking through logistics. We have the geographic, me in Michigan, my partner in Florida, the players scattered all over the country. I will tell you it's a top priority for us to at least get out and do some limited live stuff with probably a band we'll put together, around the project, and get out and do some stuff. To go tour for 2 months, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I certainly see some limited live engagements that could be as simple as Todd and I as a duo, out doing some things. John Corabi from Motley Crue, The Scream, he's out right now doing that. Donnie V from Enough's Enough is doing some of that. So even if we could hook up something like that, we just want to play for people, that's what we did. Look at people's eyes and gauge their reaction when we play live.
How did you and Todd first meet to put this project together?
We met in high school. Todd's a little bit younger than I am. And so he was there. We went to a fairly small high school. That certainly had music fan community, but there were only a few guys who were willing to stand up and go, well, all the kids like Exodus, Slayer, Venom, King Diamond, Metallica, and guys like Todd and I are going, man, we really like Faster Pussycat and Motley Crue and LA Guns and, Poison and the glitter, the glam rock of the 80s. That's what we connected with originally. He and I were music fans and we liked the same stuff and we bonded over that right away. And then it turned out he was by far one of the best musicians in that school and in our area. He can play anything. He's a songwriter, he's a singer, he sings harmony, plays drums. I was definitely below him in ability at that time. I was high on RPMs and low on ability. So I was ready to go and figure it out as it went. And so I just pestered him till he finally gave in and said, God, come to my parents' basement and play your stupid guitar with me and I'll play drums. And that was 30 some years ago. And he's always the guy, anything I'm involved in, he's my go-to. If I can bring him along, I know it's going to be better.
You mentioned it earlier. Your EP release, Headed West, was a 6-track concept record where the stories were connected. Was that one was it a sad tale of kind of the bands heading out to Hollywood to try to make it, or was it more of a satirical tale, or was it to try to paint it in a better light? I didn't have a chance to listen to that album.
That's okay. Really what it was there's no satire to it. I will say that, there are the Steel Panthers of the world and stuff, and that's cool. I crack up, love it. Plus the, great musicianship. But for me and Todd, back in the 80s, you saw these poofy haired dudes, dressed like women heading out to California to become stars, and everybody, sort of had a, whisper and a chuckle about it. But what people didn't realize is just what it takes, the kind of tenacity, the kind of discipline, there were drugs, alcohol, sex, all this stuff. But again, nobody remembers that. What they remember is songs. So, you did have the great image of a Poison or a Motley Crue or a Guns N' Roses. What you didn't see is what built up to that. And that's what the story we wanted to tell is, hey, man, it's one thing to, get out of school and go, hey, I'm going to be a this or that. And I go and I interview for this job and I start doing it. At no point in that job, for the most part, does someone go, hey, you're going to have to starve. You'll have no money. And furthermore, you're going to probably have to work for free or even pay to do this job. And there's a pool of 1 million potential, candidates for your position. These people who went out there and did this in the 80s were going out knowing full well that there were 1 million candidates for their position, and they were going to go out there and earn their spot. And I thought that took some guts and, like I said, tenacity and grit. And that story needed to be told. We saw people rise to the top and fall just as quick. And that's a devastating fall, man. And if you don't believe it is, it's littered with dead bodies. That fall is littered with dead bodies, people who couldn't make that transition. So we wanted to be serious about telling the story, but also celebrate what it was, the Sunset Strip and the good times and the rock and roll and being out on the road. And someone said a 6-song concept EP is pretty ambitious. And looking back, it probably was. You couldn't really develop the story. It's not the Who's Tommy, but it kind of hit the bullet points, I think.
You mentioned your experiences in New York kind of shaping this LP. Did you have a chance to get out to the Sunset Strip to kind of take in the scene, I would say, during the late 80s, early 90s, or did you wind up out there later?
Todd actually did. And we had, in my small town here, up here in Michigan, I'm not kidding, we had an exodus of people who were heading out. They'd go out, they'd come back. They'd go out, they'd come back. It was a tough game. And we lived in a small town and we had some fantastic musicians. But again, there were 1 million candidates for that position. Todd did go out for a few months, checked it out, came home. He was there in the 90s, like the early 90s, and that scene was sort of dying then. It was kind of coming to an end. Grunge had come in and things were changing. I didn't. I have been, I made music here at home. I spent most of the 90s as a fan. I sort of left the genre for a while. I was more of a rootsy Americana kind of guy, singer-songwriter guy. Almost downplayed how much I loved that music growing up. And then I kind of caught myself and self-corrected and went, hey, listen, dude, you're as much Faster Pussycat as you are Bob Dylan and the Byrds. And if you're going to be authentic at this thing, you better start recognizing that and talking about it. And I did. And that's how how Todd and I did Ghosts of Sunset, is we were really honest about, there were people who were molded by Zeppelin and the Doors. And, you can say you're a Stones and Beatles fan and everyone goes, oh, that's great. But if you go, I liked Vane and Faster Pussycat, it's always he. But we were willing to go, yeah, this shaped us as much as anything we listened to. And that's what Ghosts of Sunset is. It's given back a little bit because, that Bang Tango video, man, when it came out, I watched it and it moved me. And that's all we care about. If the music's moving us, I don't care where it comes from. It can be, it can be a really good Avril Lavigne song. It can be a really good Def Leppard song, or it can be a really good Beatles song, as long as the song is there.
Absolutely. And those guys in the late 80s and early 90s, they put out some great songs and million-selling record albums. And, none of the awards ceremonies touch them. None of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has nothing to do with them. And everybody writes them off as a flash in the pan. But the reality of music is most acts were a short-lived heyday. Even the bigger acts today are living off their legacy.
Right. And you know what? There were, we laugh. Everybody laughs. One hit wonder, one hit wonder, one hit wonder. Boy, wouldn't that be great? One hit says you connected with such a body of people that many people wanted to hear what you had to say. I mean, I would take one hit wonder any day. And that could be, certainly you want it to be a reflection of how you tell a story and what you feel in your heart. I got to assume, Right Said Fred wrote I'm Too Sexy, and they felt that in their hearts at the time. And, the girl, I can't think of her name right now, who wrote Oh, Mickey, You're So Fine, she probably felt that at the time. And we do that. We sort of elevate the scene of the late 80s and, that glam metal scene. I'm not so shallow as to not realize that it got a bit silly, right? It did. It got overblown. But what no one ever says is you had the Beatles, and then you had a million other Beatle-like bands who were recording hit songs, the Hollies and, the Animals, and you could go on and on. Nobody's reinventing the wheel here. For us, when someone hears No Saints in the City and I hear them go, I hear Hanoi Rocks in there, I'm like, great, I did my job, because they're in my DNA now. And I want to grab my piece of that big song, sort of digest it through me and throw it back out there for the next person. You got to remember that nobody remembers what jeans Joe Elliott was wearing per se, although we all remember those super cut up ones. But an arena full of people at a hockey game will all sing the chorus to Pour Some Sugar on Me together. And that is timeless, and that is valuable, and that is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame quality stuff, at least in my opinion. It's valid.
So let's talk a little bit about singer-songwriter John Merchant. I came across John Merchant and the Desolation Angels. Not bad for what it is. It's not my personal favorite type of music, but you hit the nail on the head as far as the sound's concerned.
I like a lot of different music. I do. Sometimes the singer-songwriter thing is, it sounds so pompous, makes you sound like you're Neil Young or Bob Dylan or something. It's not that as much as it's just, I grew up listening to classic country music, a lot of, like I said, a lot of singer-songwriter stuff. But my home and my heart, really, I hit in the hard rock, heavy metal, hair metal scene is what really connected with me. And to this day, it's still the stories that matter to me, even if the stories are kickstart my heart, I can follow that, and I can feel the adrenaline in that, and I can feel that overdose in it. And that's all I'm trying to do, no matter what genre I'm in, is make some connection. So the singer-songwriter thing is fun for me. It allows me an outlet. Todd, my partner Todd, has made music across tons of genres. He works with other artists too. You're just trying to get that expression out in some way. Although even saying that now sounds super pompous, and I'm embarrassed I said it. It's just trying to give. I described it recently as checking I checked a lot of books out of the rock and roll library. I took a lot of books out of that library. It would be nice to put one back that someone could check out down the road, be it singer-songwriter, maybe someone connects with that, Ghost of Sunset, of course. You just want to give a little bit back. I mean, I was a poor kid with a single mom. Rock and roll, I had no identity at all. I didn't know where I fit in the world, kind of a frightened kid in a big world. And rock and roll, all of a sudden, now I was wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt to school. And now I was defined a little bit, that was starting to draw my circle in. Now I'd walk down the hall and the kid I never spoke to would go, Maiden, and I'd go, okay, now I got another one. I'm starting to build my tribe here. And that's really what it's about, man. This rock and roll thing, as fun as it is, as silly as it can be, as Spinal Tap-esque as it can be, it saved my life. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a voice. It gave me a lot of things I wouldn't have developed without it. And how can I not want to give some of that back?
A lot of musicians are working on multiple projects. Is Ghost of Sunset the only thing that you're working on?
Right now that's my focus. I've got adult life stuff that gets in the way a lot, which we all do. But Ghost of Sunset we're working on the new album right now. We're about 5 songs into it. And believe it or not, even choruses and all this stuff seems fairly easy, we do put the labor into it. I think that's the difference, is we'll put the time in to make sure we're telling a story. We're doing so, avoiding as much cliche as we can, and that people can still sing along, because ultimately nobody's going to remember anything but the songs. And we want those to be the focus of everything. So right now, Ghost of Sunset, I mean, I play solo gigs where I play the Americana stuff and the country-ish stuff, and Todd's plays in cover bands. You wish it's all you had to do. You wish you could make a living just doing something that you're this passionate about. But you get a family, you got a kid who needs soccer cleats, and he doesn't care that the gig got canceled. He doesn't care that the tour was canceled due to COVID. He just knows, hey man, I want to play soccer and I'd like to have some cleats, and you better have the funds to get those cleats,
Absolutely. It's kind of, I don't think anybody can really do one thing in any field these days. I mean, you're lucky if you can.
I would agree 100% with you. I think, the business has diversified in a way we never knew before. I can remember being offended, and I wish I could remember what the song was, and it might even been like a Bob Seger song in a Chevy commercial, like a rock or something. And I was going, oh my God, and I remember hearing Revolution by the Beatles, a song that moved me to my soul. That was in a Nike ad. And I remember being, how dare they, And now, a man of my age, I'm like, I wonder if Nike needs anything, can I write a song called The Shush? Can I, do I write a song about hemorrhoids, or do I just sell a song that sounds like hemorrhoids? I don't care how it gets to people anymore, as long as it gets to them. And that's been a shift in the business overall.
Well, I'll tell you this. Every time I hear the song Double Vision by Foreigner, I think of Burger King Whoppers because of that commercial every single time.
And the guys in Foreigner might be offended by that. Me, I'm like, who cares? You probably get a Whopper maybe a couple times a month, maybe once a week, and you're thinking of my song? Perfect. That sounds great,
Absolutely.
I can live with that.
That's all I got for you today, John. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I had a good time.
Hey, man, I thank you so much, and thank your listeners. And this is how it works, man. This is how it goes forward. This is how we get these songs out to people. We owe it to folks like you who are willing to give us the time. And I just can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And it's no trouble at all, man. I mean, I get tons and tons and tons of music in my inbox and trying to filter through it. And, I come along something that kind of speaks to me, kind of catches my attention. And that was your new album.
I appreciate it, brother. Hey, before I let you go, what else are you hot on right now?
Off genre, the Black Pumas are pretty good.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of FM. Steve Overland, it's a UK band.
Okay, cool.
Ghost, I like the new Ghost one.
They just came through town. I think it was Ghost and, oh God, who were they touring with? Clutch? That doesn't sound right. But yeah, they just came through town.
And I had never heard Ghost before, and I heard a couple tracks from this album, and I'm like, wow, this is a band that I would really like.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? There's a lot going on there, I think. Well, I'm rocking the Great Affairs right now. We love Wild Street. They're like brothers to us.
Oh,
There's another band.
I've spoken to him from Wild Street, Jake.
Yeah, Eric. He's
Jake,
flying the flag, man. He flies the flag, and I salute. I'll tell you what. I've yet to see even a casual photo of him where he doesn't look like the most rockinest dude on earth.
He was in the full outfit
He's the dude.
when he did the interview. Yeah, it was great.
He's the dude, man. And I'm digging Tuck Smith and the Restless Hearts. You got to check them out too. They're great.
I think I got the Great Affairs. I think I've been following the Great Affairs on Facebook, and they post a lot of stuff. So eventually, I'll get around to them.
You won't be disappointed, my friend.
Once again, I want to thank John Merchant of Ghosts of Sunset for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, No Saints in the City, available on all streaming platforms. If you like what you hear when you stream it, make sure to visit the Ghosts of Sunset's Facebook page to order a physical copy of it. And they can be found at Facebook/Ghosts of Sunset. I also want to thank Dustin Hardman of Hardman Promotions for setting up this interview, and of course, Golden Robot Records. You've been great. I've been George Dion. I'll see you again soon.